I began the winemaking process at a young age, working for my parents in the Northwest. In Oregon and in Washington, my family has a winery. I kind of developed a passion for tasting these wines, being able to see how a wine can reflect its origin and its climate and its conditions, its growing conditions. And this kind of desire led me into pursuing wine as a full career. I start with the region, the climate, the soils. So I like to kind of explore what's out there in that region, what's grown in similar conditions and how it fares, what kind of wood that they use in the different vineyards, so that would be the different clones of the different varieties and how they interact with the climate and the soil types. And then I like to look at farming. Who is farming it? How is it farmed? Are they respectful of the soil, of the region? Do they really try to enhance in the grapes what you can find naturally in the soils? And if I feel like I can make a wine out of those grapes that reflects its true nature of terroir, the French term for just the soil, the climates, then I make it, I bring it to my winery, and I really just try to influence the site as much as I can. There's a few different vessels in which you can age wine. There's stainless steel, which is probably the most common for bigger wineries. There's oak barrels, which is really the most traditional. And then there's various concrete, terracotta, clay. I choose oak barrels for the aging of all of my wines because I think it really enhances the textures, and I think it brings about a better aging method that really shows the character of the vineyard, of the soils, of the region. There's many different qualities that you can get from an oak barrel in both red and white wines. I often find a lot of fatty aromas like bacon fat, saucisson, different sausages, a lot of like charcuterie that you'd find in Paris, just a little more meaty and exotic. You'll find baking spices, very interesting textures, creamy textures, and sometimes even smoother textures in red wines, like a silky texture, finer tannins. I think oak barrels, with all their pores, the microoxidation really helps the wines break down properly, develop strong tannin chains, and just be very fragrant and aromatic, and it makes them more complex than you'd find in stainless steel or any other vessel.
We're small enough where I know every single barrel in our cellar. I recognize it. And we actually make decisions based on what we know this barrel will do to the wine. So we'll say, oh no, not that barrel, we'll fill this barrel with the wine because we want that certain aspect to come out. So it's kind of a friendship even with the barrel. And so to see them just get cast aside when they're no good anymore, I just really wanted to do something with them. And so the idea struck me, well, I bet you could make some furniture out of this. And that's when I began. What's interesting to me about barrel furniture is you have one of the hardest materials to work with, which is oak. It's unforgiving. It will snap your screws. You can't fudge anything. Those cuts are set because of the strength of that wood. And so it really provided a challenge. There's not a single barrel that's the same as the next one. There's not a single stave that's the same as the one next to it in the same barrel. And further, there's not a single square piece on any stave. There's curves on the outside, on the inside, left and right. There's different thicknesses from the top of the stave to the middle to the other end. And so making furniture out of that is quite a challenge. And it really demands, I think, some creativity to figure out, how am I going to measure this curved piece of wood? How am I going to cut this so that it fits well? That's a challenge with this medium. There's a living nature to each one of these barrels. They age, they make the wine taste different year after year. And when making barrel furniture, I really wanted to kind of embody and trap that uniqueness in each one of my pieces. What really makes me happy, one of them is winemaking. It poses its own challenges, its own uniqueness every year, every grape, every vineyard, and that's a challenge that I love because I know that I'll never be done. I'll never be done learning, I'll never be done creating, and I find the same aspect in woodworking. And that's another one of my passions. It makes me absolutely happy to be out here in the sun underneath the Topa Mountains and working with this very unique living material.